Good morning, everybody. After a little bit of technical challenges this morning, we are online. Good morning. My name is Heather DeSanto, and I am the CEO and founder of DiSH Events. And I'm here again for another LinkedIn Live, What's Your DiSH Conversations, where I bring in friends and people I've met in my world that I've known for a long time, or somebody like my guest today that we've just met in the last year or so. And I invite these folks to come on and share their dish. And what's your dish is the who, what, why, where, and how of how you show up in your life, in your business, and what I like to call your business of life. And so today I am super excited to talk with Erin Sisko, who is a woman on a mission. I just am so excited. We were talking before we got on just about how these conversations just flow. I tend to attract women predominantly into my world that just are spectacular. And Erin is one of those people. And I'm so excited to share her and her wisdom and her gift for bringing women together that are in business to share with you and all the good things. So with that, Erin, I will invite you to introduce yourself and tell everybody what your dish is all about.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me and for that lovely intro. So yes, as you stated, my name is Erin Sisko. I live in Thunder Bay, Ontario, and I am the founder of a company called the Alliance Network, which is a business mastermind community for Canadian women entrepreneurs. Um, Prior to that, I worked for about 15 years in corporate finance, helping small and medium-sized business owners access the financing and advisory support that they need to grow their companies. And that was really where I found my passion, which is entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship. I am a little bit obsessed with business and talking about it and supporting, especially women, grow enterprises and businesses that are greater than anything they could imagine, because I believe that women having more wealth and income in their lives just makes this world a much better place, and we are more than capable of achieving that. So I just want to be a part of that wave and making that happen for as many women that I can.
That's amazing. I love it. And we've had so many conversations about, and where am I going to go with this? In the sense of as I don't want to say too much about the conversation, but I still continue to be amazed with the dedication that you have to your business. And while I mean that, not that all women don't, it's just through the conversations you have such a passion for what you're doing that literally it's it tends to be all encompassing sometimes because you are so passionate about it. And so you have something on your bio that I just would love you to share, because I don't necessarily know what you mean by this, but so that's why I'm asking the question, obviously, but also because I think it's just a very curious statement that I think bleeds into that passion that you have. And that quote is, I help women build critical social capital to grow their business. So the question is ultimately, what is that social capital? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, thanks. Okay, social capital. How I define social capital is the people that you surround yourself with. So there are various types of capital that you can raise for your business. And I think the number one thing that people think about is financial capital. Capital is very often thought of as money, and you raise capital, that next round of capital. But there are actually three other critical forms of capital that you need to be thinking about at all times in your business. And you're probably doing already to some degree, but putting some intentionality behind them is where like that sweet spot is going to be, when you become aware that there are four different types of capital that you need to be thinking of as you're growing and scaling your business. So financial capital is number one. human capital. So you need to have people on your team to help you, 10x your results. You can't become, $1 million or $10 million or $100 million enterprise all by yourself. So thinking about who your who's are to help you continue to grow and scale, that's the human capital that you need to raise. Then there's intellectual capital, which is how we learn and become better leaders and expand our minds and who we listen to, what we're reading, the information that we're consuming, the courses we're taking, just how we are growing our own intellect to show up as better, stronger leaders in our own business. And then last but not least is social capital. And that is the one, I believe it's the newest form of capital to this like suite of capital. And it really intrigues me. And it's the premise of the Alliance Network. So, as I mentioned, I come from a finance background. So, raising financial capital is something that is kind of in my blood and that you can't build a business without the proper cash flow and financial capital for sure. But what I was hearing when I started the Alliance Network from almost every woman in my network at that time was our biggest challenge in growing our business right now is making the right connections. So it was that sentence that I heard over and over again that actually was the trigger for me to eventually launch the Alliance Network and be like, how can I help around this? Like, if making connections is where there's a gap, where there's like a breaking point here, what can I do to help bridge this gap and help women make better connections? Like, they were aware of it. So I knew that there was something there and something missing at the same time. And there's so many layers that I can think of to why women might be communicating that making the right connections is where they're having a struggle or where they're feeling left behind in having the opportunities come to them that maybe our male entrepreneurial counterparts are getting access to more easily and more readily than women entrepreneurs are. So that is where I started to really want to talk about social capital and how joining a community like the Alliance Network and so many others out there, surrounding yourself with the people that can help you move the needle, that have the resources, that have the networks, that have the knowledge. And, it is amazing that when you get yourself in these rooms with these types of women, how generous everyone is with their knowledge in wanting, asking a question and this like pouring everything they can into it to help make your path or like this little piece of your business a little bit easier by sharing what they've learned on their own journey and who they've met. And you need to meet this person. And I think honestly, I'm grateful that I hear you say that you see passion in how I build my business. And it's impossible not to be passionate when I see the connections that are being made and how they are transforming the lives and businesses of these women. Like, you just need to be sitting at the right tables in the right conversations to get access to the opportunities and people that can literally transform your life. And there's no other way around that. Like, yes, we need financial capital and like all the other capitals I talked about, but I just think social capital hasn't been strategically for women. It has for men. We've all seen this. We've seen the golf course and the after hours things happening that are predominantly men. And we know the powerful conversations that happen on those bar stools and on those golf courses and, in those boardrooms that are closed door and have 12 men around the table. And, women just, we haven't always been given access to those types of conversations, and that's how business moves. So we are now creating our own tables and our own rooms, and we are supporting one another, and business is moving. And I'm seeing it with my own two eyes, and I could just there's just so much more to do, but I could burst with excitement, and I can see it, I can feel it, and this is it's just such a critical piece. So that's what I mean when I talk about social capital and why it just excites the heck out of me.
Yeah. And just in your answer, right, you can tell how passionate. I keep using that word because nothing else is coming to my mind, but it's a great word to use because just in your explanation of it, I could feel, and I'm sure anybody watching can just feel the energy, the positivity, the necessity of having what you're offering to people. And so I'm curious because you had said, and I hope I don't have this wrong from your bio, because I'm curious to how this came to be. And I believe it came, like the idea of the Alliance Network came from, you were in corporate, something was transpiring, and then you left corporate and now you're doing this. And so I'll leave it to you to share what you want around that. But like, how did this light bulb come to you to say, I need to create my own network for women so I can create this social capital? And we'll talk about, I would love to talk about the fact that you're helping, actually you yourself are helping women actually get the financial capital. So I want to talk about that in a minute, but I would love for you to share, because I am part of a women's group. There are some out there, but yours is unique too. So I think that's what I'd like you to share, the genesis of it.
Sure. So kind of what I shared a little bit before. So I was working in corporate, and I got assigned an additional title, which was the Ambassador for Women Entrepreneurs for Eastern and Northern Ontario. So I took this role on excitedly, because what was happening in my life at the time is I was at the bank for about 7 or 8 years at this point, and it was literally just starting to dawn on me that I almost exclusively only dealt with men in my portfolio, in loaning out, millions of dollars. I was going for lunches with men, and I was helping projects come to life with the right financial capital, probably 90% male. And funny enough, for the first 7 or 8 years, I didn't question a darn thing around that. And that's super interesting for me to think about now, just in the social conditioning, right? And like our own unconscious biases. I was just like, well, this is no, I never quite, it was not a weird thing on my radar. It was just like, well, of course it's men, you know? I don't know any women that are building $1 million companies, right? So anyways, but as I learn and as I grow myself, I'm like, I'm curious. Why is this? So then when that opportunity came around, I was like, yeah, I would love to be involved in doing more to support women entrepreneurs and understanding why I don't have more of them. Like, what's the block? What's the gap? What's the challenge? Where does it stop? Like, why aren't there more women that are building massive wealth through entrepreneurship? So through this role, it got me talking to more and more women, like more intentionally, right? So like, what are your challenges? What's happening? And that is, as I previously shared, where the message came through loud and clear. It was making the right connections. And that was a bit confusing for me, or I don't know if confusing is the right word, but I was like, geez, they're not saying access to capital, and I'm a banker. So like, now what do I do? But I'm also the ambassador for women entrepreneurs. Like, I'm supposed to change, like I need to fix this thing, or I need to help in some way, right? So, um, I started like deeply thinking about this because I'm also somebody where like I asked you what you need and you told me and I need to do it now, like that's just I got to do something about this. So, after brainstorming and Googling and just like, what can I do here? I sent out an email to everyone, all of the women that I had been speaking with, and I said, if I start a group, would you come? And, it was really, it's one of those stories, and, I'm not the only one that has one. Like, I did not try to start a business. This was not supposed to be a business. This was an extension of my corporate role, me trying to help women because the bank had just launched an initiative to help more women. And this was my way of doing it in my own community. And they said yes, and they showed up to the table. And that was October of 2019. So what are we, 5 years? Uh, 5 years later, um, a lot has happened. So I left my job in September of 2021. So that first group started, and then I had more women reach. They're like, well, what are you doing? What is this? I want to be in the group. I want to be in the group. But in my mind, I was running it. I was helping women at the time through, or not just women, I was helping entrepreneurs set up advisory boards for their business. As one part of my role in my corporate job. And I was fascinated by this tool of an advisory board. I was like, why aren't more people taking advantage of this? Like to get like this like little army of people around them that have expertise in areas that they don't. And they meet with them, once every 4 to 8 weeks and just help them grow their business mostly for free. Like
Yeah.
that's how an advisory board works. So I was just like, "Ooh, this is powerful." I knew it. I knew that. And the difference between an advisory board and this mastermind group that I was starting in the Alliance Network is when I was helping people, like if I was going to set up an advisory board for myself and the Alliance Network, I'm inviting, say, 3 to 5 people very strategically based off of their where they're at in business and what their zones of genius are. So if I need a lawyer, then I invite a lawyer. If I'm growing my team and I need an HR specialist, then I invite an HR specialist. Or I'm looking to 10x my community growth, so I find someone who has built a community that hit 10,000 members and I invite them to the table. And they come and they all work on my business. We just talk about my business, right?
Right.
So that is the structure of an advisory board. What I was structuring was more, we all come together. There was approximately 10 women at each table, which I just made this up. If I don't know if anyone else can
Love it.
resonate with that, but like you just make it up. Like 10 felt like the right number because I felt like there was enough diversity of knowledge at the table, but in a 2 hour meeting, everybody could talk. It wasn't overwhelming. You could build relationships with every single person at that table in a quite quick time frame without, you know, I'm kind of in the middle. I'm sometimes introverted and sometimes extroverted, but I don't thrive in big rooms where I don't know a lot of people. So I basically set the table up exactly how I would want a table if I was looking to make connections and learn from other women. So 10 was the number. And I just the next group launched and the next group launched and the next group launched it just kind of kept going and it was all free. Eventually it didn't work anymore for my corporate job, and that was probably the biggest, scariest step I've ever taken in my life, is to take a bet on this free thing that I had grown and leave my very safe and secure and well-paying corporate job and hop into the world of entrepreneurship. So, um, but yeah, and then I've just get to pour everything I can into it. And I hear this line sometimes and it just resonates with me because when you say passionate, but sounds a little crazy, but the line is that you can't beat obsession. And I'm just like obsessed with it. Like I can't, there's nothing else that I could see myself doing, like waking up with like more of a fire in my belly to continue to build this thing and create all of these like massively successful women entrepreneurs around me and myself along the way. And, just really watch the power and influence of women as it grows, in our nation to start, but around the world, and just how that shapes everything for the better when there's more diversity of voices and more women have more power and influence and wealth to direct into social causes and things that are just inherently women think and operate a bit differently than men, and that's a beautiful thing. But we are so like we're nurturers and we're community oriented, and it is like widely documented that if you give a woman $1 or $1 million, how she thinks to divvy it up to like all the most important things is very differently than if you gave a man $1 or $1 million. So I just think it's very important, and now is the time. Like we're ready. I feel like we are ready to take on this challenge, but it's still new. It's not something that's been happening for like 10 generations before us. So not doing it alone is also super important because it's still kind of new. So it can feel very heavy and confusing and lonely if you are not very intentional and strategic about your social capital around you.
I love it.
I could talk about it forever. I feel like I only touched on this amount of it, so hopefully that answers like a bit of your question. But yeah, that's kind of how it got started.
I love it. And you've put so much other great information and inspiring, really, thought-provoking things for women, because you've said so many things that have hit with me in the sense of, well, for one, leaving a secure job to trust that this alliance network that was free at the time could be something different. And so, just like, to be perfectly frank, now it's now a membership, so it's not free anymore. Just so you're like making it, because again, like as it's grown, you found a way to create these communities and make some money yourself, but also make money for the people in the group. So I would love you to share a bit about what a membership would look like. Not necessarily the investment and things like that, because you'll share your website and people that really want to take a look at what the investment would be. But you've shared a lot about what it is and who's at the table. And I think, I don't know that I've ever asked you this, and I'll ask it in the sense because I think the social capital piece of having people in your network, but it's not like a BNI, for example, where you're forced to refer or do all of those things that I myself, when I was involved in one, wasn't for me. Although I like the idea of what that women at the table and supporting each other and helping each other grow looks like. So if you could share what your membership looks like in the Alliance Network, somebody participating, why would they want to participate? Yeah, if you could share that.
Well, I'm glad that you say that because the what comes to my mind immediately, and that is one of the differences between women and men, is so the Alliance Network is exclusively for Canadian women entrepreneurs. And the facts are is that it doesn't need to be mandated that you need to make a referral to someone at the table. I don't need to say that because women are also natural relationship builders, like
Yeah.
super natural. And it never needs to be said. I invite you to the table. And, Heather, if you come to the table, I have zero doubts in my mind that after the first meeting, you've already started to cultivate relationships with the other women at the table naturally on your own. I set it, I facilitate it, I come prepared with the right types of topics and information to drive and deliver, a very informative, expansive, amazing conversations around business and growth and scaling and all the things that are on our mind as entrepreneurs. And the rest happens via magic feminine energy. And then naturally, without me having to tell you what to do, you're going to receive a referral and you're going to give a referral at some point when it feels perfectly aligned and super good to you. And I- th- who doesn't want that? Nobody wants forced referrals aren't going to go anywhere anyways. The person is not going to end up buying from you. You might get a discovery call set up and then that's it. So it's a waste of time. Not effective, in my opinion. And it's just not how I want to do business. And I don't think the people in the Alliance Network want to do business that way either. So that's the one part about that. However, it's happening all the time just on its own, because as we also know, referrals and business is done when people know, like, and trust you. And how do you build know, like, and trust? Well, you show up and you give generously in your knowledge and your resources, and you comment on their post, you help elevate their brand through free 10-second things like a comment or a like or a share, and like all these natural things that we do when you're showing up at a table with somebody. And that there's this thread of like-mindedness that binds us from the very beginning. Like you and I, this is our third or fourth time meeting, and we don't live in the same city, and we have nothing else that connects us besides the fact that we are women building businesses that we're really passionate about. And just like magic, we can sit down and talk to each other for hours and hours. We just always have to cut ourselves off and be like, okay, well, we got to continue this at another time. I got another meeting.
Yeah.
So um, it's, yeah, I say it's like magic, but I think it's like it is part of that feminine, like it's just part of us that when you bring like-minded people together, it does feel like magic because it's so effortless and easy. And it's like you immediately are like, I found my people. And um, there's nothing better than that. So the tables are very thoughtfully designed, these mastermind group tables, and they are based on a few key factors like the industry you're in, the size and stage of business you're in, what your future goals are, um, where you're at right now and where you want to go, and your industry are the key factors that help determine which mastermind table you're going to be sat at, because the women that you're sat with at your mastermind table are the ones that are going to help you create that growth and transformation that you're coming into the Alliance Network for. This is, business is human, and it's going to be humans that help you get to the next level. And these are the women that have the knowledge and networks and resources to help you get there. So there is a lot of thought put into designing each of these mastermind groups. Um, there's many other events that you can tap into that will help you learn and grow throughout the month. and help you connect with women that are in other mastermind groups. So I think that's one thing that makes the Alliance Network unique, is that you get to go really deep in building relationships with the women that are at your mastermind table, but then you also have the opportunity to network with women across Canada through other types of strategic and structured events all around building and growing your business and helping you build your social capital. Um, it is structured as a membership, like you said. So I had to figure out a way to monetize it when I left my job. And, so grateful that while it was being delivered locally for free, there was enough value poured into it that I think 90% of them converted and signed up and paid. And some of them are still with me. So the mastermind groups are interesting because they're not after you're with us for a year, then it's done.
Right.
It's not, it's done when you say you're done. And there are different levels of groups. So if you feel like you've kind of outgrown your current group, then there is opportunities for you to shift into a group that is at, kind of a more escalated level of business that will help push you even further. That happens rarely. And I think it's because the relationships that are like, people don't want to leave their group no matter what. Like, even if they have leveled up 1, 2, 3, 4 levels and now they should be in based off of where they're at, but they're just like, I can't leave. I don't want to leave these women. Like, they look so forward to seeing the women that have really helped them get to where they are. And the relationships are so strong and special that kind of trumps what the growth, but all the opportunities are there. So that's a bit of the structure. The investment is $89 a month. But like you said, if they want to check out more, they can connect with me or look at the website or all the things.
And share what the website is so they could, I know
Yeah,
people will know, but I would love you to share it anyways.
sure. So it's alliance.ca, and Alliance is ELLEIANCE.ca.
I Thank you. There's so many directions because before we got on, we were talking about your sign, which you've moved your screen a
Oh, yeah.
bit, so you can't. But I would love you to like share. Well, no, actually, we're not going to go there. So this is just the moment where, like, if anybody wants to know the genesis of the sign and where Erin is now, then that's one reason to connect with her, because it's inspiring about just how you had this idea that was given to you, it was gifted to you essentially because of the work that you were in, but how it has beautifully come to be over the last 5-6 years, and whatnot. And so I just glanced down at your bio again, and this was another thing that I chuckled at when I read it, because we've had this conversation before about being an entrepreneur, and this is again why you have these mastermind tables crafted in a unique way, because we are all CEOs, and you define a CEO as the chief of everything. And we've talked before, Erin and I have talked before about the fact that most entrepreneurs, like, I think a lot of us can put our hands up and say, okay, well, we've got this business and we're entrepreneurs and we have to do everything and all this stuff. But our zone of genius is being the business coach, putting on the event, whatever that looks like. So would you say, and I think I know the answer just based on everything we've talked about, but this chief of everything, I think what comes to mind is that we are all chiefs of everything, and coming to these mastermind groups allows you to not give away, but rely on other people that are not there, that are their zone of genius is something that isn't yours. So marketing, for example, Erin and I have talked about the funnels and all the things that we have to do, and yet neither of us necessarily, that's not our zone of genius. So these mastermind groups are bringing. So Erin, I just love you to share about like that chief of everything. Has that always been the mindset for you from the CEO perspective, or is that something that just came to be? Like, I'd love to, I've never seen anybody say that before, and I just think I love it.
Um, I don't know if it was because I wasn't always, I feel like my story is a little bit different than other people's story in that I didn't start this because I was a lonely entrepreneur. Like I was a corporate gal, So when I look back and I really think about it, I can definitely see that it was built out of um there was a little piece of me in there in the sense that I am very growth minded and personal and professional development has always been super important to me. And being around other people that have that similar mindset isn't always easy to find, but it wasn't driven because I had like I wasn't an entrepreneur. So I was just listening to other entrepreneurs and I more resonate with I was like the good corporate gal. Like I was a really good girl that followed all of the rules and just I'm a helper and we just did an Enneagram exercise in one of the mastermind groups and I am basically a tied peacemaker and a helper and I am that's just it's in my blood. It's like, "Oh, you told me that you need help with something, so then I'm going to figure out how to help you." And that was really where it came from. So I didn't become my own chief of everything until I left my corporate world and entered the world of entrepreneurship. And it was slowly through that evolution of me becoming truly the CEO of my life. I feel like now in every aspect, I own that in such a different way than I did. Not that you are the CEO of your life always, but for some reason it took on a new meaning for me that I just took a lot more seriously once I kind of went out on my own professionally. So it was a bit of a slow development. Like I had to come into that on my own. And now I feel that way. But I always say, like, when entrepreneurship is often described as a journey, and that is so accurate because you can't know things until you're ready to know things. And you can't level up in your business until you're ready to level. Like things just can't happen faster than they're meant to happen. And so knowing that to be true, and then what I also like really, really believe to be true which might seem counterintuitive to what I'm building, but it's not actually, and I'll explain it. So I also really believe that we have all of the answers inside of us to to chart like the perfect path that we're supposed to get to. Now, can we be expanded by expanders in our life? For sure. But again, we have to have that realization and then we upgrade all on our own. So, surrounding ourselves with expanders is one really important thing just to help. It still is an internal thing, but it can start by just like seeing what else is possible out there. And then also just having safe, knowledgeable, supportive, incredible people to say things out loud to. Like
Yes.
to say, this is what I'm working on right now, and this is what I'm struggling with. And, if there's primarily entrepreneurs listening to this, I think that so many people will resonate with the fact that as I'm saying it out loud to you and saying, this is where I'm trying to get to, and this is where I'm just not sure how to do it. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I just figured out what I need to do next. And the person maybe did, like, they maybe just sat there and nodded and allowed you the space to speak. Maybe they gave you advice at the same time, but ultimately, that advice is going to be all mixed into like all of the things that you know for sure to be true. And you're going to come up with your own answer and your own process. And, people can have a role in that, but ultimately, you've got like you've got it all inside of you. And coming to these tables just helps you maybe uncover that or have it come into clarity quicker
Mhm.
than it would otherwise. So I think that's one of the beautiful things about having such a variety of knowledge and expertise around you, but all trying to build something that's bigger. My vision that I hold is so big, I can't see the path. I can't see it more than even 3 steps ahead of where I am. And that can feel a little overwhelming or paralyzing sometimes, but coming back to like, this is where I'm at. I just need to take one step today, one step, um, and having a variety of folks around you that just have such a different zone of genius and like a unique set of experiences and knowledge to help you uncover what you already know and have inside of you is just so beautiful and magical to witness, like those light bulb moments. And, they're going to come to you regardless. So I never like, you don't need to sit at an alliance table to become successful. Like you will, but if you want to do it, maybe a bit quicker and have a bit more fun and build some incredible relationships and, just like have your path be made a bit easier for you, then let's do this together.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So last year, you and I believe you're doing it again this year. I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. And I don't remember if you referred to it as a scholarship or a no, like because
An
it
award.
was an award. Okay, so it was an award. So share that because I'm presuming you're doing it again this year, but last year was the first time you did that award, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. All
And what
correct.
that looks like. And again, this is how you are helping elevate financially people to get themselves, women to get themselves a winner. Because I think, was there first, second, third, or just first? I don't remember. Anyways, you can share about it. But again, inspiring that you are finding the means to be able to give back as a part of this big vision and membership and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So you're right. Last year I launched the Capital L Business Impact Award, which was a $20,000 business award package that went to one Canadian women entrepreneur. The winner happened to be two co-founder best friends. So I guess it went to one business owned
Okay.
by two women. Um, and it was amazing. So it came to be because you're right. I've mentioned I have a finance background, and as much as I am super passionate about helping women build social capital, it is also still glaringly obvious to me that you can get all the social, like you could be the social capital queen and be scaling with all of the right people around you and still eventually need the financial capital to support that growth. Like you can't ignore the other parts of the capital that I talked about. And I just happen to have some unique knowledge and a zone of genius around financial capital. So I was really looking for a way on how I could weave that into the Alliance Network in a meaningful way. So the Business Impact Award was born, and it is um, I'm working on it actively right now to hopefully bring it together in even a bigger, more powerful way. I would love to fund 2 or 3 women this year. So I am actively looking for partners and sponsors to help make that happen. But yes, there's also widely documented articles and all the information around the gaps when it comes to women and accessing the critical financial capital they need to build their business as well. And this feels like one thing that I can do to help bring awareness to it and also to help bridge that gap again. And Um, I think a big part of my message that I want women to hear through all of this is that you are worthy of raising financial capital for your business. Your ideas are worthy, you are smart enough, you are more than capable, and you deserve the money to go and build, the million or billion dollar unicorn business that is on your heart. And I feel like one reason, there's lots of reasons again, but one reason that there is that gap is a lot of women count themselves out before they've even tried. They're just like, well, it's not for me. It's not going to happen because of this, that, and the other thing. And, I would just love to help that narrative in their
Mm.
mind that no, it might not work the first time. And we are on an uphill battle. And there are, some systems that are built against us in many ways, but not in all ways. I come from that background and it's not all people for sure. There are a lot of people doing a lot of good work around making sure that women and the amazing ventures that we are building are being properly funded. And there's a lot of data around, again, when a woman is given $1 or $1 million, um, financial returns are, I'm gonna forget the data, but like at least 25% higher than when that same amount of money is invested into a male-owned business. So we're outperforming, we're creating massive returns, and we're changing the narrative. And, I just want to be a part of that too.
And thank you for doing so. I think that's it. Yeah, it's very, very, I'm very grateful because you've talked about the social capital. And so just through all of this and listening to you, again, I've told you this before, I find your mission very inspiring and you very inspiring. And I'm just grateful for the woman that connected us because, again, you're in Thunder Bay. I'm north of Toronto. Like, how on earth would we have ever connected? Because we're never going to, we are going to meet in person at some point in time, but we wouldn't have come together at an in-person event likely because of the separation. And I don't want to go into this, but because you have said the Alliance Network is across Canada, I'm assuming, or well, I know because you shared, but some of those tables, yes, you still have the ones that are in person up locally where you are, but a lot of your tables are virtual because you want to serve across Canada, right?
Yes, there are virtual tables, but thank you for bringing that up because there are now um, in-person mastermind tables happening in various cities across Canada, um, which I am really, really, really excited about because I think that there's nothing better than networking in person. However, like you just said, also so grateful that like you and I obviously are smart about our social capital because we've taken the time to not only meet once, but meet multiple times and do different things to support one another. And that's, you can't just meet once and then carry on. There just won't be any impact or ROI there. So that is the other cool thing about the Alliance Network is that it helps you to have those, like, you need to have the reoccurring meetings with people. Like it's like any relationship. You have to show up for it. But anyways, so right now there is an incredible woman in the Alliance Network who is leading an in-person mastermind group in Medicine Hat, Alberta. And there is an incredible woman who is launching her mastermind group in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia.
Nice.
And I am hoping my goal is to launch 5 more cities in 2025 and really be able to offer that, like that deep mastermind connection coupled with the national like the nationwide virtual events that I lead for everybody that allows you so many different types of meaningful networking and social capital building opportunities inside the Alliance Network. And, with big plans for more and more financial resources to be weaved in there too. So yeah, there's lots going on and big goals, and I'm just so excited for everyone who's in there and who is going to join us in the future.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I'm noticing the time and I still want to get in my little portion to get your point of view. But I feel like we could talk and talk and talk because, again, just your experience, there's still so much that I could pull from your bio to just have more intelligent conversations. And I think truly that's what I really enjoy about these conversations is I am connecting with intelligent women that are wanting to support and help other intelligent women grow their business and their life in business. Like that's why we're all doing it, right? So, anyways, so what I do is I bring in these tools that I use in my business, and they are called points of view. And this
Okay.
is my favorite tool out of all of them that they have, and it's called Punctum, and it is a game for expanding your point of view. And so I use these uh, in my events, from everything from conversation starters to retreats and processes where uh, people come together and just share perspective. Much like your passion for what you do, mine is about having conversations where Erin and I may not agree on what we're talking about, what that topic is, because of Erin's life and learnings and wisdom, and mine may differ. But there's no reason in my mind why we can't still communicate beautifully, authentically, and challenge each other. But that perspective then helps you grow and think. You may not completely change it, but really helps you move the needle and move forward, which then I think complements everything that you've shared today. So with that, I will ask you, Erin, I'm going to randomly pull. Would you like to give your perspective on a word or a question?
Um, let's do a word.
All right. Love it. I shuffle these like it's tarot card esque in the sense of whatever pops out is the one we're going to talk about. Ooh, this one's a good one because I have no idea where you're going to take this. And again, just to frame it for you, Erin, this is when I show you this word, you can look at it. Maybe you'll see a different word within the word. What is the first thing that comes to mind when you see this word? And the word is pain.
Oh,
So that I should have framed it in the fact they're not always like positive words, like death is a word in it. There's all these, and again, it's meant to bring out perspective, and not everything is sunshine and rainbows, right? We go through pain sometimes.
yes. Okay. What comes to mind is that I think when I see the word pain, it is one of those necessary and, in a way, I want to call it a beautiful thing that we get to experience in our whole human experience on this earth. And the reason I think of it that way is because if we never experienced any sort of pain, we would have no frame of reference for the sunshine and rainbows, and we wouldn't be able to feel the joy and the excitement and the happiness and the love and like the array of beautiful positive emotions and feelings that we also get to receive as humans. They just wouldn't feel as sunshiny and rainbowy if we never felt any pain. So
Yeah.
I think that it's kind of beautiful that we also get to experience pain so that we get to feel these so much deeper.
Yeah, I love that. And so it's interesting because typically what happens is when I show the word to my guests, something comes into mind. And I had said that we invite people to look at words within. So the first thing I saw was in, and so it came in pain, right? And so the same type of, not necessarily in the same wording that you shared, but that was the first thing that came to my mind. Through pain, or when you're in pain, and when you come out of it, is that whole resilience, right? It's the resilience to come out of it, take the learning from it, whatever that is, to be able to move you forward and gain there is knowledge in pain to help you move forward. So it's interesting, and this is why I love these tools, is because we had the same mind thought. You expressed it differently than I would. So I love it. And so the other question that I ask of my guests is, because this is a what's your dish conversation, is what is your actual favorite dish? So your favorite food to eat, whether it's something you make, a restaurant, or, and I will say, maybe it's from the bakery that you're an investor, a business investor in, but that's for another conversation for another day.
Right. Ooh, my favorite dish. Oh, that's such a good question. So many things are coming to my mind. I love all Italian food.
Nice.
And then last night I did have a very delicious steak, so I like my red meat as well.
Nice.
Um, yeah, those are probably a good pasta with a steak on the side. Sounds lovely for me.
I love it. We have a lot in common, Erin. And I think we've mentioned this before, but I just listening to you today, there is just, we have so much in common in our thoughts and how we want to help others in life and in business. And so I think that's why we get along so well.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's amazing. It's the best,
uh,
right?
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to sign off for today, but I'm going to, Erin, give you an invitation to share. So we are LinkedIn Live right now. So, Erin, you are on LinkedIn. So if anybody wants to connect with Erin that way, but the other socials, other places that you would like people to find you and learn from and with you to learn more about the Alliance Network, if you could share that.
Sure. So LinkedIn, I love being on LinkedIn, at Erin Sisko. And then I am also on Instagram, at Alliance, again, ELLE.IANCE is the handle over on Instagram. And I don't really do a lot on Facebook. My private members only community is hosted in a private Facebook group, but otherwise, the best two places are Instagram and LinkedIn.
I love it. I love it. Erin, thank you so very much for your time and energy and wisdom that you've shared today. I would love to have you on another time, just to, as you move forward, maybe when the time comes that your award is you're ready to receive applications and things like that, because whether I get involved in the Alliance Network or not, that's still to be determined. Because again, I've learned more from you today about it. But yeah, it's just, I think you're doing such a wonderful thing for women, and I want to help you through this medium and others to help connect you with other women that are looking for this similar environment and supportive network of women entrepreneurs that want to grow and scale and be successful, and yeah, all the good things. So thank you so very much for your time today.
Thank you.
And yeah, and we'll connect again soon. Anybody watching, if you would love to be a guest, I would love to have you. Please send me an email at heather@dishevents.ca. So DISH events.ca, and I will get back to you with available dates and more information. And then we literally show up live Fridays at 10 a.m. and we have these amazing conversations that light me up like nothing else. And so, Erin, again, thank you so very much. Have a wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend, you, Erin, and everybody that's watching. Bye for
Thank
now.
you. Bye.